Hey everybody, welcome back to Gardens the Untold Story. I'm your host Ken Somerville, my co-host Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener, and we're talking about natural lawn care today. And just to let you guys know, I'm having a little bit of a hot flash power surge, and so I'm a little woozy right now. So, I'm going to let Andy do most of the talking today, but thank you guys for coming in, Andy. Let's get started on natural lawn care.
I have a flashlight, hot flash all the time. It's awful for me. It's normal to have a hot flash. I'm hot flashing all the time. I'm burning up, flames, the whole thing. When I'm normal, people go, "Oh, he's something wrong with him." So anyway, today I want to talk to you a little bit more about cover more on natural lawn care. We've covered it a few times, and the gifts that I get from people is that they need to understand what exactly is going on with your lawn. Personally, I would tell people, look, one of the things that's important now is that you have to expand your awareness of what a lawn should be, because nowadays, and I don't know where you're living, but I know over here, because we're having a drought like that, look, and heat, that kind of condition. The lawns are not a good thing to be putting in to have. You use so much water on a lawn, even if you take care of a lawn properly. Because I wrote a book how to save 75% of your watering bill and still have a lawn. And you can do that. You could do that. You can have a lawn that you don't have to water a lot, but there are some tricks that you have to learn how to do that. We'll talk about that. And we'll also talk a little bit of one of the things about a lawn that's really interesting. And you don't really find a lawn per se the way humans do a lawn in nature. There's a reason for that. But what you find in nature, hi, silly.
Well, and she's saying we still have snow on our lawn.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. We don't have the 100+ temperature that you guys get down there. Yeah, we were just above freezing today.
We get 90 degrees during the day, and at night it goes all the way down to 71. It's so cold at 71, I can hardly sleep.
Oh,
anyway.
Anyway. That's where I keep my house generally during the winter is 71.
Oh yeah. It's in the valley. It's been like over 100, 102, 103, and people over there they insist on having a lawn, and they literally have to water it all day, every day, and even then you have a crispy lawn.
Well, and that's why you guys have such problems with lawns and have to use so much water. Here, generally speaking, I never have to worry about watering. I just wait for the rain to show up.
Yeah, I know. I lived in Florida, where it rained regularly, and the lawn just took care of itself. Yeah. But even then, because I started doing this kind of services. I actually did a lawn service in the 9th grade, where I would go cut people's grasses, right? People's lawns,
right?
And my family, they had a little lawn in the front, a lawn in the back. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about a lawn is that I was one of those guys that liked everything to grow in my lawn. It was like my mother said, "That's a weed. You got to pull it out." I said, "Well, it's green and it looks nice, and what's wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with it." And I still do that a lot with various different people that I work around here. Try to teach them that what you really want is a lot of things growing in your. And instead of calling it a lawn, you need to call it something else, because some people call it a meadow, right? Some people call it, a little an area where you normally would have just grass, but you can grow a variety of other things on the lawn as opposed to just grass.
Have a greenscape.
A greenscape, right? Where there's here we have native grass. So I'm into native grasses. There's one called carapia, which is beautiful. Doesn't look like a grass, no blades, but it's got a different structure. It grows on the ground, 10-foot deep roots. You only have to water it maybe once every 3 or 4 months, and that's during the drought. The rest of the time, you don't even water it at all. It's gopher-proof. It's fireproof. That's the lawn. And so I liked having lawns that have like my yard here. I can't really. I have friends, my next door neighbor says, "You need to pull up your weeds." And his place is full of weeds too, but And I tell them these I want them to grow here. Anything that'll grow here, I welcome them. Other than big giant weeds that take over, there are some big weeds that grow so fast, so big, nothing will grow around them, right? And I said, no, that's not right. You have to share or go. And when I cut them out, I chop them all back up, put them all right back down again. So anyway, one of the things that I want to get across today is, let's assume that you have a lawn, you have a grass, whether and I'm not going to cover what type of seeds to do, the basic maintenance of a lawn, because where you live, like you're not worried about a lawn now, are you? With the snow out there, so it's not going to be a very good thing to help you with your lawn. What kind of lawn do you have when the snow goes away? What is it that's under there? Do you have
just
a lawn?
a normal green grass lawn?
The normal green grass lawn. Okay.
Like
yeah,
I don't have specific grass that I grow. It's just the grass that
comes
grows
up by
here.
comes up by itself and grows here. Right. That's over here we have different. It's like a different country because these people buy seeds to plant, and so they do have some grasses that are normal local here that grow year round. But what's happening is just less and less of that because of the drought. They'll die off. A lot of places have literally pulled up their lawns that they don't want to pay the high water bills, so they have nothing. They have rocks, stuff like that. So they grow cactuses in their lawn. They have cactuses and other things like that. But and so there are many different ways you can deal with that. Personally, I like when I worked for Eddie Albert, the Green Acres guy, I pulled up his lawn. He says, do what you want to do. I pulled it up and had a section of corn, a section of watermelon. We had basically turned it into a vegetable garden. Rows, sometimes row. I don't like rows myself too much, but because I basically like it all flat and everything growing in there. You can walk in amongst. They have little steps. So I took everything out, and he loved the corn and he loved the vegetables, and so that was the lawn. So the lawn doesn't have to be a green thing, even though it's vegetables and stuff is green. I personally prefer a functioning lawn that I can eat from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. An edible lawn.
Right. So one of the things I grew one year was purslane.
Okay.
And I had basically a whole section of it because I was reading somewhere how rich it is and all the amino acids. It's very high in protein. It's like a medicine. It's been used as a medicine for centuries. So I thought, okay, I'll grow that. And I had lots of purslane. They're like little succulents. They basically look, and you can eat them. And it's absolutely amazing. I loved it. And I'm in the process now. In my garden, I'm going to let anything grow. But I bought some dandelions. What I'm doing is I'm growing coffee. And so the coffee. Creeping pigweed, you got it right. There are lots of things that you can substitute for your grass that you can grow on that lawn there that'll do really, really well, and also provide you hopefully with something that you can eat, right? That would be really cool. Like I said, coffee is costing so much now that I'm growing dandelion and chickweed. Chickweed? Chicory.
Okay.
So both of those make the roots, when dried, you have coffee. It's a coffee substitute. You never can tell. In England, when in the beginning, people did that before coffee took over, and they still do.
I don't think coffee can be grown in England. I don't think they have a high enough.
That's true because they had to ship it in. They would ship it in. And I was reading a movie yesterday about how Napoleon, for example, would ship in the coffee, and he put a ban on coffee in other countries that he took over. they couldn't have coffee, and so in England, for example, but chicory is amazing. So that's my take on the lawn. My lawn is basically my garden.
Okay.
And The grass I don't eat. I do have a lot of grass because my cat will come and chew on the grass. She likes the grass. So fine, I leave some grass for you. And the grass is very invasive because it reseeds itself very fast. Next thing you know, you have a lot of grass, and the things I want to grow, they push out. You know, they crowd it out, and they don't do too well. But there are lots of other things that I'm learning that are basically taller, and I like the grass. I like anything that covers the soil, that protects it from the heat of the sun, that holds water.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing to keep your biology alive is for shading. And that's where, if you're growing plants, then you have the shading, and, you're going to have a much healthier soil to have whatever plants in there that you want.
That's it in a nutshell. One of the things, if a person is going to have a grass lawn, I tell them to have 4 inches high. Don't cut it too short. You want it tall enough that it shades itself, and you'll find it won't dry out. It won't dry out as fast. But again, nowadays I would concentrate on having a lawn that you can grow in. Forget about a lawn for grass per se. Just do a vegetable garden. Grow corn. Grow watermelons. Grow squash. And massive amount. So I have another customer, sunchokes. I'm crazy about sunchokes myself, and because they look like sunflowers. They come up, they look like sunflowers. You can never tell. The biggest problem I'm having here now with sunchokes is that the gophers like sunchokes too. These guys, because it's a tuber that you slice up and eat raw. So I saw this gopher with a little knife.
Oh, they're dicing things up for his salad. Yeah,
they were doing that. Slicing things up and eating, and looking at me and going, "Oh, Jesus, you're eating." So I'm planting it in a container now. I actually have some sunchokes. I ordered a whole bunch, and they grew and they came up, and then they disappeared. And I found out because the gopher whole tunnel goes right to them there. So I'm doing the same thing with ginger and with turmeric. Now the turmeric they won't touch. But they obviously doesn't like the clay soil that's here. And my soil is getting better and better and better, more and more worms. So what I tell people when you do your launch, if you're insisting upon doing a lawn, there are a couple of basics that you need to understand. And if you catch that, so one of the things, of course, it's going to be an organic lawn. You want it to be organic. Now, of course, I have to mention the fact that if you really want to have something growing organic, you have to get a water filter for the city water. You cannot have an organic anything, whether it be organic lawn, organic garden, organic vegetables, and expect it to really work. Because if you kill the soil biology, then you're bypassing the number one way that Mother Nature feeds itself. That means you got to do a better feeding job, and there's no way you can do a better feeding job than what Mother Nature does. So you're going to have pests and diseases. I was talking to somebody just yesterday about using a refractometer on their lawn. What's wrong with my lawn? Well, to use a refractometer, you'll see that if it's really, really low in the bricks, then you're not feeding it right. And chemical fertilizers is not a food. So would
you recommend a mulching mower other than like a blowing mower where they bag everything and remove it?
Of course. I also like the little kind you roll, with a little thing that goes around,
Yeah. I've got 2 of them.
Yeah. You go up and down, you cut them, it chops them all up. A mulching mower is excellent because it cuts it rather than a bag taking it away. We have to get out of the habit of taking everything away and hauling it away, because we're disturbing the natural cycle that you want. And most people don't understand that a lawn needs to have constant food added to it, constant organic matter added to it on a regular basis. And they don't get that. They just cut it, haul everything away, and leaves fall, they haul that away. Nothing gets to decompose and return to your soil where your lawn is growing. So what happens is your root systems don't grow very deep unless you're in one of those states that have massive amounts of deep soil, right? But most of the time, you're lucky if the root systems go down like that much. You And then I found that from experience, because I look at a lawn and I try to explain to the person, there's no earthworms on your lawn. One customer, I actually do my spray. When I spray, they have worm eggs in, so it actually promotes the growth of worms. So I tend to look on the people's property that is the perfect place for the worms to survive. Usually the lawn is not the best place for worms to survive, because it's right out in the sun, super baked. And then, and not on top of that, people have a very bad habit of watering the lawn every day.
Yeah, and cutting it really too short. Like I agree. Like I try to keep mine, 4.5 inches to give the soil the shade so that it doesn't dry out. And that's one of the reasons that we should be, chop and drop and, using a mower that leaves that in for the organic material.
I think Serena's doing too much drugs. I think she does too much drugs, and she needs to stop it right away. I think we should get together and have what it's called intravenous. Is it intravenous? Intervention. We need to do an intervention, because what's bacteria? The rear entrance to the cafeteria. I mean, seriously. I'm trying to be serious here, Serena. I really am trying to be serious here. Oh, how can you? Wait, so what is this? I need a.
I was just bringing that up.
I have a refractometer. I can. How can I take photos and videos of the insides? Oh well, you just hit on the $1 million jackpot question, because I've been trying to do that for years. Put the camera up to it, somehow to tape it together. It doesn't. I have no idea, other than what I found out is that you have a microscope, and the microscope has connected to the computer, so you basically can do it that way. You have your microscope hooked in, so it looks into the refractometer, and it can see that, and it'll tape it. That's what you do. But it's a sideways thing, But with a refractometer, if you hold it sideways, everything will come out. So maybe it has to be like this. But I've always often thought, how can I show that to show it to other people? See, and so what I have to do is there's like I said, you have a microscope that hooks into your computer. So the microscope and the refractometer have to be aligned so we can look down into it. That's what I would do. Buy yourself an inexpensive microscope that plugs into your computer, and then set it up so that the refractometer is held in place, and the little microscope thing will right up to the lens, and you can see it and focus it in. That's the way I would do it. I'll send you the bill in the morning. But so
Serena says she's just cleaned out about 250 to 500 seeds.
What's a
out of 2 of her raised beds.
What's a helicopter seed? A little seed that twirl like that, the wind takes you, right? A little helicopter seed.
Yeah, I would believe that's the one. That's the one that pops into my head anyway.
Wow, I don't know. I've never seen. I've heard about little seeds that twirl around. I always thought they were like pine seeds or some kind of seed from a tree. You know what I mean? Maple seeds. Helicopter seeds, maple seeds. See, they're maple seeds.
Okay, yeah, and then if they're landing in her raised beds, yeah, she's cleaning them out so they don't sprout in the raised bed.
Yeah. Otherwise, you have a maple seed raised bed.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so here are some things that if you insist on having a lawn, here are some things you absolutely have to do. Okay, so I said before, water filter. Okay, so if you can't get a water filter, right, for some reason you're just too stubborn, because there are lots of ways. So when I was a kid, I would go to a hardware store and buy shower filters. And you can hook them up to your drip system, and it goes straight through your drip system, and it filters out your water for the drip system. The whole property setup there you have to learn because your filter reduces the pressure of the water. So if you can't do the whole property from one point, you have to do the filter. You basically have to buy Michael Whitman's filter. It has a little filter about this size.
Yeah.
You basically plug him into various different places in the garden, but you can't filter the whole property because you won't have enough pressure to go around for the whole property. But you can do a specific section of it with a filter. Yes. How did you know I was doing that? Who? Hey, Teal. Teal. What? Why did you ask about Mannix? Because that's one of the shows we're doing upcoming. We're doing. Didn't I tell you that?
I think in a couple of weeks ago, the last show we did, we mentioned the magnets.
Oh yeah, great. Because see, the thing about magnets is that Mother Nature works with magnets. It makes magnets. Mother Nature has the Earth is a magnetic. It's a giant magnet. North Pole and South Pole, the whole thing. Magnetism is everywhere. Energy is everywhere. So magnetism, energy, two aspects of the same thing. And so one of the things that you can use magnets for is for structured water. And when you structure the water, it's the minerals. When you have minerals in your water, or you're applying, you want to get the minerals to be absorbable. The magnetism aligns the minerals up, makes it easier for the biology to assimilate it into plants. And so also goes for you too. When you're drinking structured water and you're going through mineral deficiencies because your water is crap. You're getting city water, plastic jugs of water. The water is not the kind of water you normally drink. But try to drink water from a stream. It's rich in the minerals because it's structured. The minerals, the magnets, you can look under an electron microscope. You can see the minerals all lined up in a row. So that's why it's called structured water. It's a structure to it. So yeah, so what I do in my spraying gig, I have these magnets that I wrap around my hose for spraying. And in my garden, I don't have my water bottle here, but I also have magnets around my water bottle for drinking. I have magnets around the hose. And you can get these magnets. I get them on Amazon, different sizes and different shapes. You can get, I don't know if they have like magnetic tape. That would be really cool. You just wrap it around. So I have these round ball magnets like that. They're very, very super powerful. 4 of them will go around the hose. And basically I use duct tape and tape it all up there. So the water will flow through the hose, flow through the magnetic field, come in. It will come in with chemicals. It will go out without the chemicals because once you structure the water, it releases the chemicals that are in the water. There's like a water filter without the filter because the magnetic field will remove the connection that the chemicals have in the water.
See? Yeah, break them out apart at the molecular level.
Right, and that's why it's so good for us to drink, and it's also good. Anything for us that's good for us is also good for the biology, and vice versa. If it's good for the biology, it's good for us, and that's why rainwater is so good, or river water, or any of those type of natural sources of water. It's because it's all structured. What is this one says here? What is I can't read it. You guys are moving too fast. I can't do this and talk. Leave them. Okay, I can't see them. But
which one are you talking about? The one from Tio?
Yeah.
Just mow the leaves and seeds to mulch them.
So Tio, you just find a source. You can go online and you find there's tons and tons of magnets. There's also magnetic stones you can get. They're naturally magnetic. LODE stone is a natural magnetic stone that you can use, and you can buy chunks of it, put it around your garden. One of the things we're going to be talking about down the road is the electro gardening. So I show people how I create electro fields for the garden, for the plants to grow, for the mycelium to grow. The mycelium will follow the electromagnetic field, which is also magnetism. So magnets are one of the easiest way to do that, but you can also make your own little antenna to take the charge from the air into the plants. One of the things we're having a problem now is because human beings have screwed up the electromagnetic field that normally found in nature, because you have all these different Wi-Fi's and all these different other electromagnetic fields which interfere with the ability. What is this one? Let me see what it said. What is that? Oh
Why
no,
do
I know.
mathematicians make poor
Oh
gardeners?
no, I'm sorry. I
Plants
did
are
it again.
always ending up with square
Oh,
roots.
oh no, I did it again. I fell for it. Oh God, I fell for it. Yeah, this is a copper wiring for electroculturing. Right, exactly right.
Yeah.
You'll find that it makes the minerals so much more available to the plants, and you increase your growth. It inhibits the ability of plants to use carbon. Carbon is a very important product of electromagnetism. It uses that because that's how it works in Mother Nature. So anyway, so for a lawn, there are a couple of things you want to do to increase the biology. So one of the things I want to talk to you real fast about how to go about increasing the biology in your lawn, because you need to really make it super alive. Really need to make the soil alive. You want to make it so that you have worms down there. I would love it. So one of the customers will call me up and says, the worms are coming up on the lawn. I have to kill them. I bought this worm stuff to kill the worms. Like, what are you doing? Because he didn't get it that the worms are also aerating the lawn, providing nutrition for the lawn. Earthworm castings are one of the richest things in trace minerals that you can get your little hands on. So one of the things you want to do is you want to learn to aerate your lawn. Aerate basically means they have little machines. You takes out little plugs, and
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
basically put the plugs in. I would compost it. I would not aerate it with chemicals. I would aid it with a good, rich compost. You want to do that once or twice yearly, seriously, so you get more. Because the compost, anything you put on your lawn will just dry right out, really super fast. So you have to constantly be adding it. That's one reason why if you cut the grass, the taller you cut the grass, the longer the root systems will be. So if you have a 4-inch grass tall, you're going to have a 4-inch root system down below. See, right? If you cut the grass really short, the root systems are going to stay really short.
Yeah. So Candy Cams says, yes, I've been doing some copper wire wrap around a branch and a crystal on top. The water thing I need to work on. Have you ever tried a hose filter, anyone? And
Yes,
that's the hose filter is from Blue Sky Biochar.
right, right.
And he
That's
just
what we talk about.
mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, and they're very good to use. As I said, when I started doing this, nobody was selling garden filters, so I would go to a hardware store, buy a shower filter, and then
Hmm.
tell the person I'm hooking it up to my bib. They give you little connections. You hook it up to your bib. You hook up your hose to the shower filter. Bada bing, bada boom. You got a filter. And some of them are at least not as expensive as these garden filter ones, but I think Michael's and there's a couple of them on the market that you can get really inexpensive. They last like a year or two, 50,000 gallons. You go through them, yeah, and it will filter out the chemicals in the water. There are lots of other things you can do, like if you was to wrap the magnets around the water filter, which is what I do with mine. I have these magnets. I wrap them around where the bib connects, and then the water filter hooks into there. So the magnetism goes through there, and then it goes through the water filter. You have this really clean water because the magnetism helps to break up the chemicals. The water filter that purifies again. You don't need. You can do if you can't get a water filter, you can use the magnets, so that will purify it. Not as well because there are some really creepy chemicals in water these days, right?
Yeah.
Which are, and it's not just chemicals that they put in it. The water picks up a lot of chemicals from the pipes that it flows through, all kinds of other things that happen to it, at the source. So you definitely want to get a water filter, and there are many of them on the market, $30-$40. So we'll do it. Like I said, you can go to a hardware store, buy one, and make one yourself. You do need that. There you go, see. And that's Michael's Blue Sky water filter that
Yeah.
he has available. You should go to Blue Sky. I think, what is it, bluesky.com?
Blue Sky Biochar Organic Soil.com.
Oh boy, I never find it that way.
Yeah, I'll put the link in our chat comments here. This
Yeah,
is
tell me the biology sent you.
yeah. Yeah, maybe you'll give us a kickback, Andy. Would
Yeah,
that be
yeah.
great, eh?
I want another filter of it. I use it all the time. I think I replace mine every month because I mean every year because I go through a lot of water in the garden. And then I've been doing it on my spraying rig too. So when I go to people's homes, that's what I use to filter out the water, and then I aerate it, and I have the magnetism. So I got all Boogie Brew. It's a good one too. Yes, team.
Yeah,
Yes,
and the RV filters for filling up your RVs. So
yes, you're right.
there's those ones too.
I had the Boogie Brew for a long time because I thought it was a cute name. But
Yeah,
I support Mike one because I buy his. But any type of water filter will do. You have to really do that, and you want to hook it into your drip systems so they go through your garden. One of those to take care of your nice backyard garden on a regular basis. No problem. Just hook it
yeah.
in where
So if
the
guys have city water or town water where they're putting chemicals into the water before you get it, if you want to have a healthy garden, get some kind of a filter like this so that you're not killing the biology that you're trying to promote to grow your plants.
Yeah, because it's a really a big problem that's ongoing, and
Yeah.
you have to solve that because otherwise you're always going to have to be adding biology to it, and most of it is going to die.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Okay, so you have to stop the process of getting city, and you can you can't blame them because they don't want you to die from some disease, right? Because there's lots of stuff in the water. Right. So, but unfortunately, it does destroy the soil biology. It will get rid of the soil biology, sterilize it. Nobody ever thought, gee, maybe if we put that in the soil, it's going to cause damages. Not one person has, as far as to deal with the cities or the states, has said a thing about the water system. That
Yeah.
they do that, but
Yeah.
they add the chemicals at the water. They clean the water up, then they add the chemicals on the way out.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
And that's
Tio, as for distilled water or reverse osmosis water, if you're using that or you're drinking that, you need to add minerals back in. C90, the salt, Celtic sea salt, a good quality salt to get the minerals back into the water because distillation and RO strips everything out. And if you have an indoor garden, you're growing it all indoors, then you can use that. I used RO water in my grow for 3 years, but I was always adding, the minerals back into that RO water because I knew it was stripped out.
even if you weren't using a distilled water, or if you was using regular normal water, I would always be adding minerals. Always, it's one of the things you always want to be doing: biology and minerals. Put the two together, and that's what you want: a minerally rich, biologically rich tea that goes out on your property. You always have to be doing that. That's something you could do. I tell people, even if you have a water filter on the whole property, you still have to be adding the biology to it because it's not just one source of toxin that comes in. The air itself can be toxic. The car fumes are toxic. All kinds of toxic things are happening all the time to the biology.
Inside the hoses carry
That's right.
chemicals that leach into the water too.
Right. When you buy the hoses, you want to buy environmentally safe hoses. You have to look for the labeling, and it will say drinking water safe because lots of the hoses are not. And
Yeah.
they're constantly leaching out these toxins that's why they tell you that you shouldn't be drinking from the hose.
Yeah, exactly. And we used to, as a kid, we used to do that all the time in the summer,
On the good old days, they made real hoses. Now they don't.
Yeah.
The hoses are, who knows what they're made from, and they leach out all kinds of toxic stuff all the time. So people don't understand, don't understand it, but it's a process that you have to. If you take away the human being aspects of things, the biology will build itself back up again naturally. It may take 1,000 years or two to get it all cleaned up because that'll work. Potable water hoses. Potable? What's
Potable. That means you can drink it. And Serena says I'm using fabric water hose.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, neither have I.
Did they come in different sizes that you can wear?
I don't know.
I think that I would like to wear something like that. I think I would look good in the fabric water hose, don't you?
Yeah, well, you probably would, Andy. You know, running around,
shirts,
doing your spraying in fabric water hose. Yeah.
What is this one? I was just organic vulcanized rubber.
Vulcanized rubber.
Oh, that's what you were using. Yeah, I guess that's good, right? Vulcanized rubber.
Well, I think that's the potable water hose that they were talking about.
Right. So
thank you for liking and subscribing, my friend.
Thank you. So you have to be adding biology on a regular basis, and you have to add different types of biology. Mother Nature doesn't provide one type of biology. Mother Nature provides an abundance of different varieties of sources of biology. So in the lawn, and it's really simple to do, you of course will be, you just can't do organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers require soil biology to function. If you have sterile soil, the soil biology, your organic fertilizer will do nothing because there's nothing there to break it down for them. But what's this? I can see your little mirror, your little screen going on there. You're doing something. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it to you. No, can I show it? No.
Okay, sorry. My mic was off. It's they're talking about the flex hose, which is
was that fabric?
Yeah, it's those little hoses you see.
Those are fabric.
Try to get a picture up here.
They're the ones that blow up as you water.
Yeah, they expand as you water out, and they're just a fabric hose.
That's so cool. There. I don't like them too much because very little water flows through them. When I go to people's home and they have this, it takes forever to have water flow through those things.
Okay.
It's very, which is okay if you're watering. I said watering plants. You do want to water your plants on a slow basis, and when you're using that. Anyway, let me get before I forget. So you want to be using different sources of biology. One of the things you want to learn how to use, you can use it. There's several things. One, a fertigation unit is a wonderful unit to use. It's called fertigation.
Mm-hmm.
You can look it up and show a picture of a fertigator. A fertigator happens to be one of them. There are a couple other different varieties on the market. Any suggestions for lush and green lawn? I'm talking about it right now, Tilly, on suggestions for a lush green lawn. Okay, so the way to have a luscious green lawn is to constantly be adding soil biology to it, and the soil biology will provide you, along with all the nitrogen, iron, magnesium, everything it needs to be luscious and have deep roots. And so here's some of the things you can be using on your lawn. So a fertigation unit is a way that lets you apply that to the lawn. It basically hooks up to your hose, water flows through the fertigation unit, and then you're spraying it on your hose. Right?
Yeah. There's a few images here.
Show that one in the middle. The one that's
this one here?
Yeah, that one.
Okay,
that's the fertigation unit right there. See, basically that gets hooked into the water source, and in there you can put it. There's a bunch of different things you can add to that. Liquid wise is really cool. So I can add. You can add compost tea in there, for example. You can add my worm juice tea in there, or you can make your own tea from the different biology sources. So one of the things you can use, for example, flour. Flour is very, very good to mix it into the water. Make sure you have filtered water, clean water. So otherwise it'll kill the biology. It has a very nice biology, which will, once you spray it, what you want to do is you want to do a soil soak. You want to soak it. You want to add enough water, just enough to soak it into the ground rather than run off. You want to give it a soaking. You do that once a month. You can do that particular aspect of it, and you'll find that the lawn will start to, because the flour, what it does is that it feeds the biology slowly over time.
Yeah, you're using brown flour and rice flour, I think you said.
Yeah, right. So then rice flour. So then the next week, what you do, so once a month, you do the organic whole wheat flour. I say organic because otherwise you'll be introducing more chemicals otherwise if you're using chemically grown stuff. So that's once a month. Once a month, but not at the same time. You can rotate. You use the rice. I get rice flour, organic rice flour. I add 1/2 cup to a gallon of water or a fertigation unit. Or remember, you were showing it. If you back up on that screen, you'll see there's a little unit that lets you. So take that one with the fertigation unit and go hit the back button, because I think there's go back on your click back so you can go back to where you were before you came to this one. There you go. So if you go to the left, all the way to the right, all the way, keep that one. No, not that one, that one. So that one is a very clever little unit that hooks. I think they have a picture down below. If you look at the picture, there's 2 pictures there. Show the picture. That one.
Well, it's a siphon mixer.
There you go. See, right. So click on that one so you can see that. Right. So that one hooks up to your bib. So when I was a kid, this is what I used. And then hook up the hose, and in the container, right, it's where I make my liquids. Right.
Yeah.
It siphons it out, and you can have a little spray tip on, and you can spray it. Okay. So this is a perfect way for you to get all these different type of biology out. So remember, there's whole wheat flour, which is longer lasting. It goes down to the root system. You want to soak it once a month, and you want to use the rice. The second week, here's the thing to do. The first week you had the whole wheat flour. Second week you had the rice, and you don't add the rice directly. You have to add it to water. 1/2 cup of the powdered version. Slowly add it to it. No, I was
saying add it to the water.
You add it to the water. 1/2 cup for see that bucket? That's like 5 gallons.
5 gallon.
Right.
Yeah.
So 1/2 cup, dump it into 5 gallons, stir it all up. Now the trick is you really want to let it ferment. And ideally, you don't just use the plain water. You use the water that's either from your compost tea. I get the water from my worm juice, right? Because it has the biology. You want it with the biology in there. So
yeah,
the same thing with So, and then the secret. I'm going to tell you guys the secret.
Okay, I can't even hear the secret. So I'm not getting it.
Here's what you do to really super activate this whole mixture. Get a 1/3 of a cup of molasses.
Yeah, blackstrap molasses.
Blackstrap molasses. That's exactly what you want. I use Granny Smith molasses, but there are many of them on the market. Yeah. So the potatoes happens to be another one that you can use to stimulate. But you're going to find lots of things out there that you could use. These are the ones that I regularly use, but there's tons of other ways that you can increase it. There's also corn. You get corn flour, organic corn flour. It's very high in the carbohydrates, which the plants require, and encourages the uptake of nitrogen. Then, of course, the rice. So when you make rice, and the way you do it, again, you have to ferment. So for rice, for example, a cup of rice and basically that 5 gallons of water, store it in and stir it all up, cover it, let it sit for about a week, a few days to a week. Yeah. You'll see that it will separate the the rice will settle down to the bottom, but what you'll have in there is a lacto, you know the name of it. It's a long,
Lactic acid bacteria.
there you go. And that curds up. And that's what you want. That little liquid there. You pour that liquid and then that's the liquid that you put into your fertigation unit to spray. Or you can have a backpack. I put it on my machine. I make 100 gallons of it, and that's what I spray. You can spray it. You can soak the ground with, and also too, it becomes an excellent foliar spray. I wouldn't be spraying kombucha unless you really are making a lot of it, or maybe you have over. If you make kombucha, you have this leftover stuff. Yeah, you find that there are lots of things that are really, really easy to make to increase the biology. When I was a kid, I used to use fish emulsion.
Yeah.
Fish emulsion, and without even going to the store, when we go shopping, I would buy fish and we would crush it up, make it into a liquid, boil, stir it, strain it. There's your source of fish. Seaweed works very good. But I like these 5 ones because they provide a wide range of the minerals. When you add the blackstrap molasses, you're increasing the iron, magnesium, calcium, right? Did I mention iron, copper? So there's a whole bunch of them you're getting right from the molasses, because the way they make the blackstrap molasses is that they get sugar canes, and they take the white sugar out, the leftover stuff is your blackstrap molasses. The best stuff in the sugar cane is what they take out from the sugar. That's why white sugar is so bad for you, because all the good stuff is in the blackstrap molasses. And you'd be surprised, even if you did nothing but take blackstrap molasses and add it to plain clean water, stir it up and pour it on the ground, the biology will tend to come back. It's some biology growing in it. You have to have something growing in the soil, and I can't believe that soil be totally toxins of worms. But a lot of times it could be so toxic that you have to include the biology with it. Normally, right, you just add a little molasses to your water, pour it in the ground, and the biology goes nuts. But nowadays, I'm finding no worms, no biology. So it's a sterile environment, and so you have to include the biology with it. That's why you want to make, if you make compost, ideally you want to be able to get the compost tea. That's what you add, whether you add the milk or the flour to it, right? And that will make it work even better. And of course, you want to bubble it. So in that white that 5-gallon container, you put an aerator, bubble. Air will increase, double, quadruple the worm, the biology in their liquid, and then you apply that to your soil, to your lawn. And you want to learn, if you get that little unit right there, it makes it real easy to apply. You don't want to do it in buckets, makes it harder just to pour everywhere. So you hook that up to your bucket, and it's with the garden hose, just soak your lawn with it. The corn, by the way, is high in nitrogen. So if you want to have a weed-free lawn, you concentrate on the minerals, because remember, weeds grow in where the mineral deficiency. The weeds tell you what minerals you're deficient in, right?
Yeah. Now we have 4 different questions, Andy. So let's
see
those. The first one, I have metal smelt slag in my soil. Must have been used as fill, not sure. What do you think of that? Poison seems to help with drainage.
I don't think it does anything to it. I don't think that it leaches any kind of chemicals to it. What I would do is to be certain you can. There has to be if there's a college nearby, I would ask any of the professors there. It's this toxic to my soil? I know if I living here, I would call University of California and talk to the agriculture department there, or even just the city. Is this poisonous to my soil? Because I think that there's nothing there for it to leach, but I could be wrong because I don't have any experience with that.
Well, if it's coming from a processing mill where it's the slag from a mill, then what metals were going in and what's coming out in the slag, and they should have a safety data sheet on what that slag was, but this could have been, 50 or 60 years ago.
Right.
That's, because it was being used as a fill, whatever. But I think that pretty much covers that one. And then when should I apply milky spore to treat grubs? Is there anything else I should treat the lawns with for pest control?
So milky spore is an excellent tool to use, but you must realize that what you really want to do is if you apply these different types of biologies to your soil, you're not going to have this problem. Because when you increase the biological level of your lawn, you're not going to have the problem that you need to do for the grubs, you see?
Yeah.
Right? So milky spore is just something that was created for that process because they didn't know better. Me, I would never have, I don't need to. So I have a few customers that once they came on board because they were getting grubs all the time, you can see the little earth comes up, and you look for them, you'll see the grub in there. So a lot of times squirrels and other creatures would tear it up to get at the grubs. And so how do we get rid of the grubs? Well, you get rid of the grubs by making the soil healthy. You get rid of the grubs by making the biology so strong in the soil that the grubs won't survive there long enough. They won't lay there. The eggs won't lay there. It won't survive because the biology won't let them.
See, and the other arthropods will come in and eat the larvae as well. Yeah. So the whole, Serena, you've been watching us for several years now. So if you've been following and doing what we've been telling you, a lot of these problems that you're trying to prevent aren't going to even manifest. That's because right. You're already at a level in your soils where they're just, it's just not going to happen.
So it's increase the biology. It says increase the biology.
Yeah,
you can add the flower, which the reason why I go through all these is because there are different types of biology that eventually, like the flower is very different than the rice. The flower gets used up longer, takes longer for it to break down. The rice breaks down right away. So you want to have a constant source here, right? It's either that or you're going to do the rice.
I think you got that backwards, brother. I think it's the flour is used right away and the rice takes longer to break down.
No, the rice is really fast.
The rice, okay, you're talking rice flour, not actual
rice flour, right? The rice, right?
Okay.
Right. So you can take rice and bury it in the ground, and the rice will slowly break down, and the biology will live on the rice. You can see it will colonize the mycorrhizae, will colonize. It takes a long time for it to eat that. That's why you get the powder version. But if you use the powder version, bada boom, bada bing, it goes straight through it. Whoosh! There's a big flush of energy. Whereas with the flour, it'll eat it. It takes longer for it to break down. You see that? So what you want to do, and if you're making compost, make a tea oven, spray it on a regular basis. Use that. Yeah. So you want to be using your biology as a tool to control all these. It will control any and all diseases, anything in the lawn, whether on trees, on roses, ants, insects, all kinds of creatures. The biology will control it. And if you get a really amazing blend that's got everything in it, you can control anything with it. I've learned from experience. The very same thing. I would spray Sudimode in one area with biology. I go to another customer, very same liquid. I can spray that one for a bacterial disease or for the mealybugs. It works on everything. That's why you want to have a really complete blend. It's rather than saying I'm going to surgically do this, I'm going to do what prevents that from happening in the first place.
Okay, we got a whole bunch more questions, Andy.
Go for it.
Okay, would 10% buttermilk to 90% water be good?
Right. So the buttermilk, just make sure it's organic. It comes from organic sources. You'll be richer it'll be higher nutrition level and the right type of biology that you want. Buttermilk is a little odd to be using it, but buttermilk is very rich and it will work. I prefer to use whole milk because it's cheaper and it does the same thing. I think it costs less than buttermilk. I don't know. I've never bought buttermilk myself. I don't know how expensive it is.
I
But
don't know.
again,
Maybe they have a cow and they're getting it right out of the teat,
right. So again, it just depends on where you're at, and butter, and again, make sure it's organic. And yeah, it works. But 10%, I would go 20%. It depends on the time of year, and also depends on what you're spraying. Which that's a basic maintenance spray. But if you do 20% to the water, you'll find that you can do that during certain times of the year, like for example, early spring. So in early spring, that's the time to prevent any bacterial diseases on leaves by spraying this.
Okay. Next question is, can we add yeast to the water?
Yeast is another biological thing that's great to use. Yeast will work wonderful. It depends on the cost. Yeast costs a little bit more than whole wheat flour, for example, and they both would do the same thing, but one costs a little bit more. So it's just a matter of, it's up to you. If you have a really good source of yeast, yeah, the yeast works really great.
Okay. Now, Serena, did I get your email? Yes, I did. I sent an email back to you today, and you were the winner of Layton's Chorus on Monday. And I've sent your email off to Perky, and he should be getting back to you in the next little while to set you up with the chorus. So that answers that one. And then Farmer Cheryl, making vinegar from pineapple scraps. Will the pineapple scraps be good for my worm bin once the vinegar is produced?
Yeah, you just have to not overdo it. So you can literally put it in a corner and let the worms get into it rather than dump a whole bunch of it in one place. And you don't want to fill your worm bin with that. That'll be too much. That'll kill them. But if you put it in a section that let them work their way into it, then they'll slowly eat it.
Yeah. So it's like everything. Keep the balance. Don't overdo it. Don't be a moron.
Yeah.
Feed them some, and then a few days later feed them some more, and mix it up with other things. Now, I'm not sure what Rob Wilcox is
Hi,
talking
Rob.
about, seed or sod.
It really depends on how much money you have, how fast you want it to happen. Sod is a lot more expensive. Basically, you have to amend the soil, you put the sod down. But being you got the lawn right there. Seed will take you a process of getting the seed to grow. Can't let people walk on it. The animals can't walk on it. You have to protect it. So it'll take a good week for the seeds to start growing. Then it's going to be a couple of months down the road before you have your lawn. A sod, you have it's done overnight. That's the difference. Costs more. Sod, Rod, by the way, my next door neighbor.
Oh, well, there you go.
Another question?
Okay, well, we're pretty much at the hour mark, Andy.
Okay, so look, if you guys want my book, the ebook version is still available. It's free. You go up to my website. I think Ken is going to have a link on there. That's not the link. That's the link to the website. But I sent you a link that's basically said contact.
Yeah, I haven't put it into the description yet. I was going to add it in for the next show, but it's going to be a link for you to the best way to get a hold of Andy, because Andy gets like thousands of emails a day because of spammers.
I'm famous. No, I made a mistake. I put my email and my phone number on my website. Next thing you know, 38,000 emails. I'm going, So I go, good. I got a whole bunch of people following me all of a sudden. So the best way to do it, you go to invisiblegardener.com/inquiry. Fill out the inquiry form. It gets sent from their server to my server. And then when you sign up in the newsletter, you'll get the ebook automatically, a link. Click here to get the ebook.
Cool.
And there's several other ebooks that are available too. There's actually 5 of them that you can get.
Okay, guys. Other than that, Chiropractic is Sexy is on tomorrow. I have Baby Daddy Grows coming on with me on Saturday. So you guys are going to want to be aware of that and check out. He's a fantastic person that's been growing both the cannabis and vegetables, teaching the veterans how to do this, how to get in touch with their garden spirit and bring their energy back in line. So, guys, other than that, we have Luna Whitcomb coming on Monday with Leighton. So you guys are going to want to check that one out too. But everything other than that, we love you all. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, join our channels, help support us.
Send money.
Yeah. And that's the join button down on the bottom of YouTube, guys. Anyway, guys, peace out. We love you all. We'll see you tomorrow on Chiropractic is Sexy.